Greeters, space detectives, space freaks, and pareidolia police. Hope you're all well out there in this time of the Great Plague or whatever it's supposed to be. I hope you're all safe and well. It's getting a bit much now, isn't it, this lockdown? It's been over 5 weeks now in this part of the world where I am, and it's not going to last much longer, I'll tell you that. So let's crack on with it. Now, this is fairly relevant, I think, what we're looking at today. It's from the 2641 Curiosity Rover GigaPan by Neville Thompson, MSL, that's Mars Science Laboratory. This is an amazing GigaPan. I've done quite a few videos on this already. I've done a few. And this is another few things that I've spotted. In fact, I spotted these quite a while ago, but I've been working on other things since then. And this is the main thing to look at today, just here. Very interesting. And when I show you it up close, you might think, wow, that's weird. This is weird stuff. And it reminded me of some ancient legends of the Banshee and also the Grim Reaper. So I'm going to show you those in a minute. There's some other things in the folder here as well. I'm going to quickly show you these straight away, and then I'll show you where to look. And you can check this out yourself. This is not made up. This is down to interpretation, of course. Let's show you the main one first. This is it. What I'm calling the Banshee. And if I show you this image, then you may agree. The Banshee. An old Irish legend, means Benside or Bankside. Woman of the ferryman or ferrywoman is a female spirit in Irish mythology who heralds the death of a family member, usually by wailing, shrieking, or keening, whatever that is. Her name is connected to the mythologically important tumuli or mounds that dot the Irish countryside. Now that's interesting because this part of Gale Crater is also covered in mounds, and a lot of them burial mounds, right? They're all over the place, as I've shown 100 times before on my channel. They're all over the place, and a lot of these mounds have burials and partially eroded burials in them, and the mounds have eroded, showing skulls and things like statues and figurines and gold items, all sorts of things, okay? Burial mounds. That's what we have on Mars, that's what we have in Ireland, that's what we have all over the world, in fact. Now, I'm not saying this is an actual Banshee, I'm just saying it looks a bit like one, okay? Let's go back to the folder and take another look. What you have here is what looks like a face here, the nose, the chin, and the gown. Now, I think this is a rock in front here, but it looks suspiciously like a person behind it, just here. This darker thing here. Now, it's a bit hard to work out what's going on here. So, let's go back to the GigaPan here. Now, obviously, I've enhanced it from this. This is quite blue. There we are. Let's go back a bit. There we are. And you can see that face. You can see the head coming round here, like almost like it's wearing a gown or something. And what seems to be an arm coming down here, or something. I'm not really sure what to make of this, to be honest. I'm not saying this is an actual person, but do bear in mind that in this area, that if I zoom out, are a couple of other things that I found here. One of them being a calcified bear, which is down here. Let me zoom out again. There's the calcified bear. Lots of other people have been copying this now recently, I've noticed. The calcified bear, and just down here is what I've called Thoth, the bird, or possibly even a pterosaur or something like that, calcified. Now, why are they calcified? Well, this is a salt lake, and as I have explained before, the bicarbonate minerals in this salt lake would have been very, very good at preserving anything that died in the area, and would basically crystallize the remains of any creature in the area, and then these crystallized remains would then probably become fossilized over time and covered in sediment and dust and everything else, and basically turn into a what looks like a statue, but it's not. It's a calcified animal. This is a bear sort of creature. I'm not saying it is a bear, it just looks a bit like one. I've got those up here. Here's the Mars bird, Thoth. If you want to check this out, I'll put links to these at the end of the video so you can click on them straight at the end. Here's Thoth. Amazing detail. Even the eye, look, it's perfectly preserved, just there. You can look at the beak detail. You've even got feather detail in there. Unbelievable, right? Here's the bear. I'll play that through a little bit because it shows the enhancements. Let's go forward a bit. There we are. And you can even see the teeth here. You've got rows of teeth here. 2 rows of teeth, upper and lower. Nose, eyes. One of the eyes is gouged out, it looks like. You know, I mean, astonishing detail. Now, also, take a look at this. Now, this is very, very unusual. Why? Not because it's a skull, not because it's on Mars, but this was taken in the 1970s, this image, by the Viking 1 lander that landed on Mars, I think, in 76, 77. I think it was 76, actually. And in fact, that's when I really started following Mars and the images coming down from Mars and started getting into this stuff. So I've been following the Mars missions for many, many years and looking at the images very carefully. And I started spotting these things many, many years ago and started publishing them only in the last sort of 10 years, really, on various websites and stuff, and then my channel. But this was taken on a different part of Mars and is basically what I called the Grim Reaper. There is also another skull nearby it. This is the actual Viking lander here. You can see this thing sticking up here on the right. That's part of the actual Viking lander itself. There's also another skull here. But these are incredibly old, calcified and fossilized remains. They're all over Mars. They're not just in Gale Crater. This one was taken by the the Spirit rover. Another completely different part of Mars again, further north, further to the east and north of Gale Crater, whereas the Viking was much further over. There is a map I've got here, which I'll put in at the end of the video to show you the different positions of the different rovers. But these skulls and remains, calcified remains and fossils, are all over the surface of Mars. They're in each location that we've landed so far, including by the InSight lander, as well as the Opportunity, the Spirit, the Curiosity, and the rest. There are calcified, fossilized, mineralized, and mummified remains all over the surface of Mars. And they can be seen all on my channel from every lander that's been there so far. Not just the Curiosity, not just Opportunity or Spirit, but going right back to Viking 1. Okay? Anyone who wants to dispute that can come and argue with me about it. Quite happy to argue about it, and I'll show you the images I've got. But I doubt you will, because basically you don't have any contrary evidence, just an opinion. So there we have it. There's this one here. This is a burial site here on the edge of a ridge. Now this should go to the next images now. There's loads of stuff here, taken by the Opportunity rover. There are skulls and remains and bones and all sorts. There's an amazingly detailed skull here with teeth. You can see the row of teeth in the raw image there. There's this weird reptilian looking thing. This may be an optical trick, but it looks very odd. So all the rovers have taken images of these, and this is one of the most amazing of all, one of my favourites. I've called him the missing link, but this is basically a Martian, and it's not very far from the tank that I showed, the knocked out tank on the ridgeline. This is probably about a mile away from there, less than a mile, about a kilometre, and he's even got an earring and hair and what looks like a head injury. A lot of these have got head injuries, holes in the head, broken parts of the skull, as if they've been in a fight. So there we are. So we've got the bear, Thoth the bird or pterosaur. Can't make out whether it's one or the other really. It may represent some kind of in-between species that we just don't know of, and it probably does. We got the little bear here, the little fat bear. And we have humans, animals, all sorts. Come and check me out on Twitter as well, by the way, if you haven't already. Just look up ArtAlienTV on Twitter. Come and follow me if you can. I've got 191 so far. I'm actually following about the same number, so there we are. Never mind. Now, if you don't believe in calcified animals, here are some. And there's this article that I showed before from the Smithsonian magazine. The alkaline African lake that turns animals into stone. It's called Lake Natron in Tanzania. Absolutely fascinating. I'm not going to read all this now. I'm just going to show you some of the pictures. These creatures are dead and completely, perfectly mummified. They're calcified in the rich, salty, bicarbonate minerals in the bottom of the lake, or in the lake, which is very, very dense in these minerals. And anything that dies or falls in the water gets encrusted in this salt and is perfectly preserved. And they're amazing, absolutely incredible. So check that out. There's some really interesting pictures there. There's a little video as well at the bottom you can watch. So the calcification of creatures. Here's an image of the Reaper, which is pretty cool, I thought. Fairly typical. I'm not going to go into all the mythology about the Reaper. I think most of you probably know a lot about that already. The Grim Reaper, the bringer of death, or death himself, also known as. Pretty cool image, this one here, and not dissimilar to this one. Here's the Reaper, there he is, it's there. With a jutting chin, the jaw looks like it's probably a bit broken. That's why it's sticking out like that. But the way the light's hitting it as well, this thing's largely in shadow. I had to brighten the bejesus out of that to actually see it, because these actual images taken by the Viking are pretty poor, but actually they're not much worse than the ones we got now from the Rover. It just goes to show that the cameras they're using are not on there for quality. They're there for reliability. They've been tried and tested over many missions. And the cameras are used because they're reliable, not because they make great photographs. Sometimes the photos are good, a lot of the time they're not, and they're also downgraded. So there we are. So there's the Reaper. But incidentally, there's the map. Now I found remains of creatures and people and humanoids and God knows what else in all these images. Viking 1, Viking 2, Pathfinder, Opportunity, Curiosity and Spirit and Insight and Phoenix. I'm not sure if I found much in the Phoenix ones. There's not very many good images by that. But all these I've found remains and the same species reoccur across these different areas. You can see that there are similar species and sized skulls in all these images, right, that match each other. Now, the Curiosity and the Opportunity are almost level there, near the equator. The Vikings are much further north, and the Pathfinder is sort of in between there. So, basically, these were all over Mars. They weren't just in Gale Crater, although I do think that the last survivors, or some of the last survivors, may have gone to Gale Crater or ended up there because of its very deep location and the fact that there's probably massive underground facilities there and somewhere to live underground, underground buildings and bunkers and that kind of thing, okay? But these things have been found in all these missions by myself, including the most recent one, which is Insight, and I fully expect when the new rovers get there next year that the same will be the case. There'll be many fossils, remains of humanoids and creatures and sea creatures and all sorts of things in the rocks and in between the rocks and under the rocks, okay? That's what I am predicting, and I fully expect that to happen. So like I said, come along and check me out on Twitter, ArtAlienTV. I've been showing lots of things here about what's going on at the moment, about the plague, and trying to sort of gather as much information as possible, okay? Because we're being led down a very dangerous and dark path here by the mainstream media and some of these people that are coercing our governments into this situation. People like this guy here, who seems to be running this show. But people on Twitter and Facebook and everywhere are ripping the hell out of this guy, and quite rightly so, because he's behind it, or at least the people that back him are behind it, right? Whoever those people are, okay? So I recommend that you do as much research as possible about what's going on here, because we're not being told the truth. And the figures are grossly exaggerated. And all you've got to do is look at the articles on here, and you will see plenty of evidence for that from doctors and experts saying that these figures are being grossly exaggerated by the media, okay, for some reason. So there's something very strange going on here. So let's crack on with it anyway. So we've got that article there from the Smithsonian. We've got this image here. We've got the Banshee image there. I'll put links to all these things below. I'll just show the other things in the folder very quickly before we go. I'm not going to take too long showing all this. I'm just going to point out some of these things and draw around them, just so to try and explain what I think we're looking at, okay? Because there's some weird stuff in this area. And then I'll very quickly show you on the GigaPan where to look for these things. There's also this thing here, which I haven't shown you yet. Right. Right, so let's do this one first. Okay. Let's do it in yellow so you can see what I'm drawing. Now, what I think this is this is a rock here, and this is a rock, but this may have actually been clay or clay sediment that's hardened onto this thing. And what we seem to have here is a calcified person. Now, it may not be, of course. It may be an optical trick. As always with these images, they're not really good enough quality or close enough to tell either way. But what I'm seeing here is an arm here. And this is the head. The cloak coming round like that. This goes right back. There's something weird here, like a sticking into it. I don't know what that is. That could be another head. Who knows? I may be reading this completely wrongly. I don't know. But this is a forehead. There's an eye here. A nose. And a chin. And we have some interesting details here. Don't know what that represents. But it's very shiny. This to me looks like an arm here, like I said. But this may actually be a couple of objects that are calcified together with a bit of rock and clay and crap that's all kind of stuck together. This stuff is incredibly sticky and sticks to everything like glue, okay? And then when it dries out in the sun, it turns to hard stone or clay, okay? Hardened clay. So there's a mixture of things going on here, and I'm not really sure exactly what we're looking at. So perhaps some of you out there can leave some comments and let me know what you think, because this is a bit of a struggle for me here. Especially this thing here, I don't know what that represents. But it's kind of perched on the shoulder. Very interesting. So that's what I'm seeing. Let's go in a bit closer. There's the face. Forehead, eye, nose, and chin. Okay? And that comes around like that to there. Very, very strange indeed. The Banshee. And we've got these highly reflective parts here. So there's an object there, which looks kind of like a scary emblem of a face, like a death mask or something, just there, with two eyes. Very, very strange indeed. I really don't know what to make of this. But there are lots of burials in the area. I'm not saying people were buried in the bottom of this lake. This could actually be the calcified remains of a person or something. Because we've also got this. Now, this has been enhanced. I've gone around this and colour changed it so we can see it. This is a giant head. I'll show you where to look for this in a minute. Sorry. Right. What we got here is a head. I'm not going to draw all the way around it. We've got an ear, a massive ear here. Right. Inner ear parts there. There's the top of the ear. We have an eye here. These are the eyebrows. There's an eye just there. And another one here. It's not very clear. And the nose is all kind of stuck up like this. You got nostrils here, or something, and teeth. Sorry, let's get rid of that. We've got a mouth here, which is all kind of hanging open, twisted round. We've got teeth here, massive, great big teeth, coming round like this. And this looks to be a nose. We've got nostrils here. This is very, very strange indeed, but is similar to some of the others that I found. Let me get rid of that a minute. It looks to me like these are the eyebrows here. And it looks like the face has been torn away slightly here, as if something's taken a bite out of it. Just there. And you're looking at internal parts of the skull and bone. So this is a mummified and calcified head of a person with a massive ear. Now this looks very similar in morphology to some others that I found. There's one I found called the Olmec head years and years ago, which also has a massive ear like this and a massive head. This is huge, this thing, right? Absolutely huge. Now it's hard to get your head around because basically there's so much damage to it. The chin obviously comes around like this, and these teeth are all kind of jagged and broken. Let me go in closer. Let's look at this close-up detail. This is a mouth here, this black bit here. It's kind of hanging down. This has also been partially torn away and eaten. This part of the face is torn here. You can see it's torn. So the cheek, this is the cheekbone. Cheekbone comes around like that, right? The jaw comes down like this, right? And the flesh has been torn away and eaten, or rotted away perhaps. And the same goes for this mouth here. The lower lip and part of the corner of the mouth has been torn away. But we're seeing into the mouth. And in there, there's teeth detail at the back, it seems. So the ear, it was what did it for me, and I've been trying to get my head around this thing for quite some time now. I actually found these a couple of months ago, and I've been holding on to them. So I'll put some more clips of that in a minute, and I'll show you the other head that looks similar with a big ear. It looks like the same sort of species, right, as the giant Olmec head that I found many years ago, back in 2015, I think. Right, so I'll put a clip of that in a minute. There's the Reaper, I've shown you that already. And there is this thing. Now this is right at the back of the image, and is enormous. This thing is about 4 to 5 feet, maybe 6 feet tall. It's a giant head. Now this thing is massive. I mean, it's about 5 feet high. Is it a head? Don't know. Has it been camouflaged? Looks like it. Has it been camouflaged by NASA? Maybe. You can see the eyes, even in the raw clip here. Nose, mouth. Head comes round like that. That's the top of the head. Looks damaged, but it also looks as if, I'm not saying it has, but it looks like to me that some of the texture from this rock next to it has been copied and pasted over it to try and disguise this thing. This thing's massive, right? Absolutely massive. It's huge, absolutely huge. Now it could be an optical trick, possibly, but there are so many things like this in the area. I've found hundreds of skulls and statues and remains in the area, so why shouldn't it be? It's just a bit hard to get your eyes around it because it's so well kind of blended in. So concentrate on the middle part. There's the eye. And there's the other eye. And you can see the other eye better on this one, or on this one. It's a bit vague, right? This has been camouflaged. It's got all these weird textures on it. But of course, if it is a giant statue, which it seems to be, there may be vines and weird things growing on it. That's what it looks like. It's almost like one of those giant kind of statues you see in the jungle, where there's vines and things growing over it, and you have to pull the vines and leaves away, and then you find this remnants of an ancient civilization in the jungle, like in Central America or in sort of Borneo or something like that. It's insane. But this is on the edge of a lake bed. So this is difficult to see, and I may be wrong with this, and it may be an optical trick. But it's wearing, the dude is wearing a hat up here. You can see the rim of the hat there coming round like that. You've got teeth here, bottom lip here. There's the nose. Once you can see it, it's there, right? Cheekbone coming down like that. It's got all the right attributes, all the right proportions. Humanoid. You've got. Let's get rid of some of that. You've got teeth detail here. Look. If you look carefully, in fact, you can see it more on this one. There's teeth in there. There's the mouth. There's the nose. Bridge of the nose comes up there. He's wearing a hat, or the depiction of a hat. Now it's a bit hard to draw around this. My mouse is slipping a bit, but you've got the rim of the hat that comes across like that, or a helmet even. But it looks damaged. You've got all this texture up here. Now this may have either been textured, or there's stuff growing on it, or it's just damaged. This is probably millions of years old. So we shouldn't expect these things to be pristine. Very few of them are. The gold statue that I found looks pretty pristine, and some of the other smaller ones do, but they're in a much more sheltered area. This is a bit on the edge of a massive salt lake here. Let me show you where these are very quickly before we go, and you can check them out yourself, and this will prove that I'm not making it up. There's the bear. Follow the bear. Right? Follow the bear, because he will lead you to great riches. There's the bear. There's Thoth down there. The dinosaur dude with the long neck is over here. I've shown that before as well. That's a dinosaur, calcified. There's the head coming around like that. It's either a dinosaur or something else with a long neck. Don't know what it is. It probably represents a species we know nothing of. Here's the Grim Reaper, or the Banshee here. But that may be an optical trick, but there's something very strange going on there. Very strange indeed. Who knows what that is? I have to zoom right out now. I'll give you an idea of where to look. So most of this is all in the bottom right corner of the GigaPan, down here. So what we want to do now is go all the way to the top here. Not all the way, but most of the way to the top, to this ridge line. Zoom in. And the giant head, which is miles away from the rover, is just there. There it is. On this ridge line. Now it does look like it's been blended or rockified with some kind of texturing, but maybe not. Maybe this was all carved out of the same stone as the rock around it. That's why it looks like the rock. A lot of these things do look like rocks because they are actually rock. They're made of rock. So those people who are saying, oh, it's just a rock. Well, it kind of is. If you get a rock and then carve it, it's still a rock, but a carved rock. A statue. There it is. You can see that eye pretty clearly without doing anything to this. You see the eye? Just about make out the other one there as well. The nose. You've got the teeth detail here and mouth. But it's kind of blended. It almost looks like it's been blended in and camouflaged with the surroundings. But of course, if it's been there a million years or more, then there's no reason why it wouldn't look like the surroundings. It's bound to blend in after a while because everything's covered in this dust and crap. So there we are. That's where to look. We got that up there. Now, how far away do you think that is? Let's zoom right out. I would say it's probably a mile from this stuff here, from there to there, or something like a mile. I would say maybe 2, maybe a kilometre. I don't know exactly. We got the dried out salt lake here, and we got all the remains down here. So that's where you've got to look. Bottom right corner, and then go straight up to see that statue. Okay, thanks for watching, everybody. Stay safe. Let's hope this lockdown's over soon, and let's hope this guy gets strung up. Okay, thanks for watching. See you soon. Clips coming up now.